Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Concept Corner, where I take just a few minutes and introduce you guys to a concept of esoteric significance in perhaps its most basic form, using my experience with these concepts as opposed to what I may have read many years ago. Obviously, experience and academics can often part ways, and if I were to have asked my younger self about this concept, say 20 years ago, you would definitely get a much different answer than you're going to get today. So, today's concept then is Aleister Crowley's "Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," which is a bedrock or foundational concept within Thelema and within the OTO, the Ordo Templar Orientis, as well as a number of other esoteric fraternities and sororities. This concept is antithetical to, and this is why it is anathema to the mainstream consciousness, because within the mainstream we have been taught from childhood to submit to the will of another person, an authority figure, and society itself is built around this idea that without authority there would be anarchy and chaos, and therefore it is necessary to establish authority and train people to submit to it. And this is to such an extraordinary extent that it is then also encoded within Scripture, so that through the performance of the atonement by Jesus Christ, he announces, "Not my will, but thine be done," right? Meaning, this is now the credo. This is the establishing bedrock of that form of consciousness. So when another person comes forward and says, no, actually it's exactly the opposite of that, it creates tension. And that really is the context of all of this discussion. That's where this is coming out of. This, of course, was considerably more significant during the 20th century when Crowley was, of course, alive and making these statements. Now, given the face of society, clearly people are doing what they want. But that doesn't really mean that they're doing what they want. They might be doing what they want within a certain framework or box, but this statement exceeds any framework or box. In fact, this statement suggests that there is something more going on. That if this is the whole of the law, if this is the core cause of law, then one has to dig deeper to understand what this is about. And so this is the core concept on Concept Corner. Let's say that 5 times fast. That we're dealing with then. What is this about? Well, there's a couple approaches that we need to take in order to address this concept. One is to recognize the first principle of the first of the Hermetic principles, the foundation of the Hermetic principles, which is that the all is mind, and that all that we see around us is a mental construct. Now, the reason this is important is because then it allows the all to be absolutely everything that is everything, without ever reducing itself or multiplying itself or changing itself And the way this is accomplished is that the creation then wherein we all exist is similar to what we ourselves can create, meaning that within your mind, you, without subtracting from yourself or adding to yourself, you can infinitely create within the landscape of your mind in as many ways and directions as you possibly can conceive, in as much detail as you want. This is what you are capable of, and all of those creations have life within you. They are part of you as you are part of them. Okay, but they are not you. They are only what you imagine, and so they exist within your mind and are sustained by your thought. And when that thought is complete, it withdraws into itself, and new thoughts emerge, perhaps as a result of the old thinking and the experiences of those entities. Well, in a similar concept, thanks to our understanding of the law of correspondence, then we can look upon the all with just a glimmer of understanding of the process, meaning that then everything around us is the infinite creation of the infinite mental imaginings of the infinite all. And that all of us are part of that. We're all expressions of that for one reason or another, and it really doesn't matter because here we are. And that's all that matters. And to deny then that, and this is the great paradox, right? That everything around us is mental, and yet it's also real, and its reality is undeniable because we are comprised of the same reality around us. We're inseparable from it. We can't. There's, even though it feels like we're separate, we're not. It's all part of the same thing, which is the mind of the all. And within that framework, then, there are infinite universes and infinite planes of existence and infinite understandings. And it goes on forever, and there's really nothing ever. I mean, this is the way to sleep well at night, is to recognize there is truly nothing out there that can destroy you or harm you in any way that is truly significant, because you are forever contained within the mind of everything, of the all, the infinite, which is everything. So, and it try not to focus too much on thinking about the infinite. You might just wind up, doing after a few minutes of hardcore meditation on that concept. My coming back from my personal experience of catharsis was that it was more, and that was enough. And it makes sense to come back with just a single word as a descriptive of what I saw, what I experienced, it being fractal, meaning that it's just more of the same. And of course, when I had come back with that knowledge, it was before I had understood anything about the electric universe or any of this. It was actually the start point that led me towards all this. So anyway, so within then the mind, then one has to ask oneself, what do we observe in our experience around us? Is need addressed? If I look about, do I see that need is addressed? And clearly, no. In fact, that's the entire plot structure of Infinity War. Spoiler, right? Thanos' his whole goal and his whole paradigm is that there, in fact, isn't enough out there to supply the need for everyone. And so his solution, which also is a reflection of his infinite lack of imagination, is to eliminate all the consumers, which are us, the intelligent beings who are resource extractors, by half. Which then means you've doubled all the resources, right? Until at least the resource extractors multiply, and then you have that problem again. A better solution might have been Thanos, of course. Then you'd have no problems, right? He'd be a hero, a true protagonist. The actual solution would be to take the Infinity Gauntlet and then just give us infinite resources. And immediately you solve every problem pretty much all at one time. No more war, no more anything. The only problem now is, what do you do with people who may lack motivation? So, but that's the truth of the world around us is that need is not addressed. There are wars, there are famines, there are sufferings. Hell, Siddhartha, when he went out, from his father's home, and his first encounter before becoming the Buddha was to encounter people in suffering, right? That he found disease and famine and death, and he's like, whoa, things are not okay out here. And that is the truth. Things are not okay out here. That's the first thing that a person who wakes up to a sense of the truth of our reality is that it doesn't appear to be okay. So then what then is the thing that we see that is happening? Well, when I examined this in a really structured meditation on my part, where I really dug into myself and I was looking at my victories and my defeats, when I won, when I lost, when I was digging at it and going for it, and when I was procrastinating. And what I discovered was that the defining factor of everything had to do with what I wanted to do at the moment. And if I didn't know what I wanted to do, then what I wound up doing was essentially the composite expression of any unconscious wants, then manifesting as a denial of active presence, meaning I don't want to be here, so I'm just kind of going to float my head around and just kind of hang out and burn a few hours rather than deal with not knowing what I want to do. And all of us have been there. All of us, if asked right now, what are the things that you want to do? A lot of us might take a moment and go, well, gee, I don't know. What do I want to do? If I could do anything, what do I want to do? And then if I said, well, what don't you want to do? Well, I don't want to be doing this, and then insert blank, maybe this particular job, or I don't want to be this. We all know what we don't want to be. We fail to meditate upon what we actually want, and worst of all, we fail to recognize the necessity then, if need is never addressed, and want may be addressed all the time, of aligning our needs with our wants. That's the key right there, is learning to self-identify sufficiently. Know yourself enough so that what you need and what you want correlate. Because I'm telling you right now that the universe always gives you what you want, but you have to want it. You have to obsess over it. It has to be everything that you think about, all that you do, everything that you talk about. If you're recreating, then it's built into your recreation. If you do that, that signals to the universe clear desire. This supersedes all your dream boards and everything else, because you don't need to have a dream board when you're living your dream by every step of the path. You are driving forward towards whatever goal, whatever you want at the end of the road. This is, in fact, the core thesis of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. It is absolutely the core thesis that if you don't know yourself enough, and if you don't know how to achieve what it is you want, you will never be able to extend yourself to that end. And that's the challenge then. That's the thing. And this is something that Aleister Crowley identified clearly. And when he puts it out, he says, do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And the merit of that observation is that if you identify with yourself and you say, okay, insert your name now, when was the last time that I really wanted a thing that I didn't get it? And I wanted it. I went after it. I did what was necessary to get it, and I lived my life in such a way so that I got it. When did that not happen? When I asked myself that, I couldn't think of a time. I clearly couldn't think of a time, because when I'm all in, man, I am all in. If I want something, you better believe all of my consciousness is driving towards that end and observing every step fall along the way. Because I'm telling you, it's not about your destination. That want that you think you have right now might severely change. It might completely 180 on you as you're approaching the end of that goal, and you're like, gee, I don't know. Now that I see it for what it is, do I really want that? And you may now, under that light, go, whoa, it's time for a course correction. because the course correction is now what I want. You can only do this, you guys, if you're actually in your game, if you're thinking about it all the time. And this means that you can go ahead, because I've done it, I've done every crap job you can possibly imagine. Seriously, I've done a ton of dirty jobs. And the whole time I was doing it, I was thinking, this is not my life. This is the means to the end. This is just that crappy stepping stone in the river that's super wobbly, and man, I don't want to be here very long because I'll spill for sure if I think this is where I'm landing. But it's enough. It's enough to get you to that next point. And the only way to have that next point, the only way to have it, is to draw upon that Kabbalistic vision from the fourth sphere of Chesed. Pull upon that vision capacity that Horus possesses and look forward to what can be achieved by the activities of your present. That is why being in the present is so important. Why recognizing that every footfall has an impact on your future. And every time that you procrastinate, it doesn't necessarily mean a reflection of lack of moral character, which certainly is what your fundamentalist mindset within, Western America, United States here, that would be thinking, that Protestant ethic of you should be working all the time, idle hands make Satan's work. When in truth, sometimes the very fact that you're procrastinating, if you are aware and living in the moment, is an identifier of what you actually do want, which for the moment is not to be doing that. And then you need to identify what it is that you are actually doing right now. If you're just burning time, how is it that you're burning that time? Are you being productive or are you being unproductive? Are you just whiling away the hours in front of the TV, marathoning through, 8 hours of Stranger Things or whatever? I mean, we've all been there. But if you're doing that, are you present during that or are you just losing time? Because if you're just losing time, then ask yourself, wherein is the value of that to you? Because that may be of value. There are points in one's life where you just need a mental Novocaine moment, where it numbs the pain of just being whatever it is that you're working through for just a moment. Maybe that's a half hour, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's an afternoon. Then honor that moment, but then recognize that moment has to pass. The law of rhythm says that everything must pass. So if you're in a period of grief, we've all been there, I certainly have been, and then that too must pass, you have to take the passage of that moment and use that energy as a launching point into what you really want. And start doing what you want. If you're tired of your life as it is right now, then take stock. Take stock of what it is you think you really want to do. And then start writing about that, visualizing about that, testing it, researching it. Don't just go for the fantasy of the idea. Go for the reality that you are going to create. Because this brings me full back into what I was talking about at the very beginning. That the universe is mental. This is where I am on board 100% with the capacity of we as human beings of literally altering the fabric of reality. Because we, as thinking constructs within the mind of the all, are self-aware enough that we can change ourselves, we can change our environment, we can change the way we act and respond to everything about who we are and what we are doing and the people around us. The only internal dialogue that is telling you you can't actually do a thing is you. Nobody else matters. Because as some of the great philosophers have once thought, as Descartes once said, the same tools or instruments that I would use right now to describe a dream as reality, I would use to describe reality as a dream. Because there is no differentiation in the mind in terms of recollection between what is dreamed and what is real. And this is because we are living the dream within the mind of the all. And this dream is capable of infinite transmutation. The only thing that is lacking then is our will to drive it and our imagination to form it. So I say, do as you will, embrace it, get out there and start crushing it. Stop accepting the fact that things are hard, because things have always been hard, but that doesn't mean you can't crush it anyway. It doesn't mean you can't get out there and do whatever it is that you want to do. Just remember, you have to know who you are inside in order to know what you want to do with all this power. All right, I'm Aubrey Forest, the Modern Alchemist, and this has been Concept Corner on the Modern Alchemist podcast. I'll be talking to you soon.